Steer to the left on the uphill and drive through the corner of a middle line. Start steering fully to the left to get through the next part of an inside line. You can speed slide here to gain a bit of extra speed. Steer to the right area for an inside line. Drive through the loop and start steering left when exiting it. Continue steering on the very inside. You can once again speed slide here to get a bit of extra speed. Drop down to the very inside of the corner, angled to the left. Steer to the closest finish. Steer to the left no more than about 70% to avoid sliding. Make sure to stop steering when your car gears up to the 4th gear. This jump is a sign of a fast start. Start steering right immediately after landing to fit in the corner. Drive through the checkpoint on the left side. Drive down through the corner with a middle line. Start sliding to the left area to fit in the corner. Continue the slide, aiming for an inside to outside line on the uphill, trying to minimize the time spent on sand. Slide to the right on the inside. Steer to the left to reduce a lot of airtime on the transition. Avoid steering when your car gears up to the 4th gear. Steer no more than 70% to no slide on the left side of the checkpoint. Start sliding to the right area. Drive through this unusual turn on the high part of the left side to avoid airtime. Try to avoid steering when your car gears up. You can drive much more on the inside in this part if you get a good entry. Slide to the checkpoint on the inside. Drive to the finish through the shortest path. Steer to the left and drive on the inside of the corner. Transition to the right side, making sure to avoid any airtime. Drive through the turn on the very inside. Jump to the left side of the water road. Stay near the right wall for the shortest route. Emerge from the water and jump to the left side. Jump towards the arrow sign, angle to the right. Steer a bit to the right on the bounce to angle yourself in that direction. Drive through this road on the left side. Drop down to the right side and air brake for a straight route to the finish. Steer immediately to the left to prepare for the downhill. Jump to the ice downhill from the right side of the first pole for the shortest route. Aim for an inside to middle line in the checkpoint. Steer left on the tarmac to correct your route and fit in the corner. Wall ride with a middle line. Drop down angled a bit to the left. Angle yourself sideways on the ice. Thanks to the previous step, your car should start sliding to the right on the dirt. Ice set on the inside of the turn. Steer to the right on the inside. Jump from left to right for a bit airier landing. Drift from the very left side area. Jump to the very left to reduce airtime. Drift from the outside area, aiming to drive through the corner of an inside line. Steer to the right on the downhill for the shortest route. Jump to the right side to land area and prepare for the next turn. Try driving on the very outside of the turn to keep the most of your speed. Jump a bit to the left side. Drive on the very outside once again. You may release a bit here to avoid crashing. Jump to the right side to prepare for the final turn and remember to air brake. Drop down to the right side. Start steering to the left early. This will naturally slow you down and enable you to fit inside the corner. Jump in the direction of the finish line. Stick flip is not required. Steer a bit on the downhill and steer to the opposite direction afterward to get a somewhat inside line. Jump in the trajectory of the previous turn angle to the opposite side and land on the first step of the downhill. Drop down another step angled in the same direction. Drop down once again, making sure to leave space to gain speed before the checkpoint. Drop down to the middle, making sure to get the booster. Jump straight and don't overshoot the checkpoint. Drive on the inside of the downhill. You can wiggle here to gain a bit of extra speed. Drive on the lower part of the checkpoint. Wall right on the middle part. Drive down with an inside line. Approach this turn from the left side to naturally fit inside the turn. Drop down to the very inside for a shorter route. Exit the wall with a high line. Steer on the inside to the closest finish. Steer immediately to the left for a shorter route. Steer right on the inside and drive up to the top part of the track. Driving here enables you to avoid any airtime. Drive down to the inside and drop down with a shorter route. Jump up to the left side of the checkpoint and a bit in the same direction. This landing dictates the whole next corner, so focus on perfecting it. Jump to the left angle straight to avoid the need to cancel your slide. Ideally, aim for an inside line. Jump to the right angle in the same direction on the inside. Drop down in the direction of the checkpoint. Drive down gently to reduce airtime and jump to the left side of the finish afterwards. Drive on the inside of the corner. Steer right early to drive through the corner with an inside line. Start steering early to fit inside the turn without touching penalty grass. Drive on the inside and drop down to the dirt, angle to the left. Drive through this turn with a long outside line to accumulate as much speed as you can. Steer to the right before the no steer gate to set your car towards the arrow sign. Ideally, drop down on the right side here. Steer to the left on the very inside for the shortest route. Steer to the right with a somewhat inside line. Drop down on the right side to prepare for the next turn. Drift early to fit in the corner. Full speed to the right side of the finish. Steer immediately to the left a bit to angle your car towards the outside. When you're on the top, steer fully to the right to kind of swing up and down to gain extra speed. Drive to the right side and try to stabilize your car inside the turn. You will aim to do this on the rest of the bobsleigh corners. Jump from the middle to the left side to make getting the outside line easier. Steer left early to make stabilizing your car easier. Steer fully to the right after stabilizing your car. This will make you land earlier and save a lot of airtime. Steer left towards the finish. Steer to the left immediately for the shortest route. Stay near the very left side. Steer to the left side after the sausage to prepare for the turn. Steer fully to the right early. The previous step should ensure you exit this part from the middle, which will be important in a moment. Drop down angle to the right, making sure to air brake. After sliding up to the blue part, counter steer to cancel your slide. This will enable you to gain much more speed for the upcoming jump. Jump aiming to land on the left side. Steer to the left on the very inside for the shortest route possible. Drop down and don't drive with a middle line to avoid crashing into the pole. Steer to the right on the inside of the pipe turn. Wall right on the outside wall for the most speed. Drop down angled a bit to the right. Approach the turn from the outside and release gas to land early on the top part. Drop down from the pipe angled to the right to drive through the upcoming chicane without steering a lot. Jump out angled to the left to fit on the inside of the turn. Wall right on the outside. Jump up the same way as previously. Jump angled to the right to drive through the turn with an inside line. Aim for an early landing one final time. Steer right on the pipe. Slowing down here isn't required, but I recommend doing that to avoid throwing your run. Jump to the finish from a side to fly to it earlier. Steer left towards the blue panel road. Steer to the right on the inside. Jump angle to the left and drift afterwards for an inside line. Drive down without any airtime and drift a bit to fit with an inside line. Drive with a very high line to accumulate as much speed as you can. Drive with a low line for a shorter route, as going high here doesn't come with any advantages. Drift to the right early to slow down and fit inside the turn. You can go even more inside than me if you manage to do that. Drop down angle to the left side for a shorter route. Remember to air brake. Drive with a low line once again. Get a very high line for the second time. Drift to the left early for a long period of time. Thanks to the previous step, you should be able to reduce a lot of airtime here. Drift early once again to avoid slowing down anymore in this turn. Drop down angled a bit to the left and drift after landing to tighten your line. Steer immediately to the right to enable an inside line in the next turn. Steer to the right aiming for an inside line. Drift to the left from the outside early. Jump to the grass road. Drive them from the top side, angle to the left, trying to get as much airtime as you can to reduce the effects of the penalty grass. Drive down towards the flat road early to avoid airtime. Start drifting from the outside just before the grass part for a short inside line. Steer to the left with an inside line. Drive on the left side to prepare for the optional cut. Steer to the right, aiming to drive in between the first trees. Make sure to steer fully when getting close to the trees to exit this part from the very right side, which is required for the cut to be beneficial. Cancel your slide on the exit. You can also go the classic outside to inside line, which was only 0.3 seconds slower for me. Drop down on the very left side to reduce some airtime and steer to the right afterwards. Start steering left early. Steer to the left in out-in outline. Drive on the right side of the road. Drop down to the very outside, angle to the left to accumulate as much speed as you can. Steer right with an inside to outside line. Steer to the right on the uphill to prepare for a very outside line. Jump angled a bit to the right to drive through the corner with an inside line. Drive with an outside line just like me, slowing down your car a bit to fit in the turn. Drop down angled a bit to the left and continue with an outside line. Drop down angled for an inside line. Steer to the left from the right side. Drive to the finish on the right side. Steer towards the left side of the road. Transition to the right side during the turn, trying to avoid airtime. Drive down once again and drift early afterwards. Drive down through the turn with an inside line. Jump from this section to the next checkpoint, angled a bit to the right. Drift on landing to tighten your line. Drive up to the left side to prepare for the next jump. Thanks to the previous step, you should be able to easily avoid the engine off block. Transition to the left side to prepare for an early drift, which will enable you to get an inside line. Jump towards the right part of the checkpoint. Drive down on the right side to automatically jump over the engine off block. You can drift a bit on the inside if you need to tighten your line. Drift from outside to inside early for the fastest inside line. You can drift a bit when transitioning to the inside to avoid airtime. Transition to the right side to prepare for the final jump. Drive on the very inside and jump straight towards the finish line. Steer to the left from the right side to prepare for a very inside ice slide, which will make you drive on top of the snow for a bit. Continuing to steer right on the dirt should rotate you back to the straight position. Start seeing to the left and try to drive on the left side of the road. Drift to the right early to drive through the corner for one continuous turn. Slide on the inside at the start of the grass turn. Drive up towards the right side of the checkpoint to reduce slowdown from steering. Jump from the right to the left side to land on the plastic area. Ice slide immediately on the inside, trying to exit the turn in the middle. Drive down on the inside and drift early afterwards, aiming to continue the inside line in the entry of the next corner. Start drifting to the left just before the grass patch to fit in the turn with an inside line. Avoid any airtime and start ice sliding early. Aim to leave the ice from the left side for the most time to naturally rotate back to a straight position. Drop down to the left side for a shorter route. Drive on the very left side to prepare for the widest and fastest backslide. Jump, rotating your car sideways. Keep accelerating, braking and steering fully to perform the backslide. Jump in the middle and steer about 60 to 80% afterwards to slide on the wet wood. Straighten your car early before the dirt part. Steer to the right on the inside. Wall right the right wall, aiming for a smooth entry. Start rotating your car early and drop down into a backslide. Try to get a much wider line, since my inside one slows me down a lot when straightening my car. Drive on the inside of the turn. Keep driving on the inside for the checkpoint and afterwards. Drop down angle to the left to set up for another backslide. Start rotating back early to reduce slowdown. Start steering from the left side early for the shortest route. Steer left on the inside and drive towards the right side to set up for the final turn. Jump angle to the left and steer just like you are doing the back slides. The previous step should enable you to get a much shorter inside line. Steer to the left with a long inside line. Steer to the right and drift early afterwards to get an inside line in the next turn. Drop down angle to the right to set yourself up towards the inside. Drift a bit to tighten your line and don't drive on the inside of the uphill to avoid airtime. Drive down and drift to the left, aiming for an even more inside line than me. Drift to the right early to take the next turn with a middle to inside line. Simply drop down from the middle and steer left with an inside line. Stop steering for a tiny moment to cancel your tiny slide and enable yourself to drift early afterwards. Drift a bit to the right to tighten your line. You will need to slow down a lot in this turn. Drifting is technically faster, but I found simply releasing much more reliable. Steer to the road on the right for a better setup in the next turn. Drift to the left early, trying to get an inside line. Drive up on the left side and drift early for an inside line. Jump angle to the left on the right side. This is more important than you may think, as it will reduce your need to drift and give you a lot more speed for the next section. Drift to the right early for an inside line. Drift early to tighten your line for the last time and accumulate the most speed for the finish. Drop down from the inside to the right side of the black pole. This is a relatively easy way to gain 0.1 seconds difference. Drop down once again, aiming to land on the dirt downhill smoothly. Steer to the left with an out-in outline. This long, very outside turn will help you accumulate a lot of speed. Drift to the right early to fit in this long turn. Drive down with a middle line. Start steering to the right early to climb the corner on the very inside. This line is much more intuitive and faster. Slide to the left on the inside. Drop down to the right side to reduce airtime and steer to the right afterwards for an inside land from the booster. Wall right with a low line. Steer to the left on the inside. Start steering to the right on the plastic to rotate your car for the turn. Drive down from the left side to avoid airtime on the transition. Drop down on the left side to reduce airtime once again and steer left afterwards for an inside line. Drop down to the grass downhill and steer right, aiming for an inside line. Steer to the left early to drive through the tarmac turn with a middle line. Drop down and start steering fully to the right just before the water. This should enable you to get an inside line and avoid unnecessary crashes. Racing a bit helps in that too. Switch steering direction in the middle and try to get a similar inside line into the finish. Enter the grass part from the right and steer left on the inside afterwards. Slide to the right from inside to outside. This very outside line will help you accumulate a lot of speed. Straighten the car when it's about to gear up. Drive down to the right to reduce airtime. Drive just above the castle tower height and steer down after passing it. Steer to the left, avoiding a very inside line to drive from the dirt for as long as you can. Continue steering to the left with an out-in outline. Drop down from the right side to avoid penalty grass. Leave the corner with a very outside line. The longer the line, the better. Jump to the next road part from the middle. Drive down on the inside. Simply drive up, straightening your car at each step. Drive into the grass to jump into the road in front. Drop down onto the downhill below, angle to the left. Jump from the right side of the road, angle a bit to the left to jump over most of the penalty grass. Steer to the left area and jump into the finish. Avoid jumping very late as the increased chance of crashing isn't worth it in my opinion. Steer to the right on the inside. Drop down on the left side, trying to land as smoothly as you can. Release a bit and steer to the right to reduce a lot of airtime in this transition. Drop down angle to the left. Drop down to the left, this will make you land earlier and set you up better for the next part. Slow down a bit just before the jump to land on the top platform earlier. Steer to the left on the inside. Jump down from the top side to avoid penalty grass. Jump to the outside, angle to the right to prepare for an inside line after landing. Release a bit and jump to the left with as low as line as you can to reduce time spent on getting the checkpoint. Avoid airtime on the downhill and stay in the middle afterwards. Jump to the inside of the next corner, angle to the left. Jump to the dirt road, angle to the left once again to make correcting your line easier. Drop down to the checkpoint. Steer to the right on the inside. Drive up on the very right side, this will slow you down and make avoiding airtime on the downhill a lot easier. Steer to the right side of the hole for better setup in the next corner. Steer left to the inside after landing. Start steering right early for an inside land in the grass part. Steer left early to continue the inside line on the tarmac. Drive up to the left, trying to reduce your airtime to a minimum. Switch direction on the high part of the uphill to get an inside line afterwards. Drop down from the left side to the middle. Jump from the left side, angle just a bit to the right to make steering afterwards easier. Don't forget to air brake. Steer fully to the right upon landing for a short inside line on the plastic. Jump angle to the right, trying to avoid driving on the grass sections. Drop down late, trying to land early and steer towards the inside. Steer to the left to land earlier. Steer to the right and drift on the tarmac to get an inside line. Jump towards the checkpoint in front. Steer to the left to take as much of the boost as you can. Drop down towards the left of the arrow sign. Drift, aiming to get an inside line. Drop down angle to the right and make it count. This part will decide your speed in the pretty long ending part. Jump up towards the middle. Jump up once again, trying to land as early as you can without slowing down. Drive straight towards the finish. Thanks for watching.